Friends, if you want to watch the super hit horror thriller movie Five Nights at Freddy's, 2025, in English, then make sure to like this video. And if you're visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to Facts and Review for more exciting movie updates. Friends, in today's video, we are going to talk about the much-awaited film Five Nights at Freddy's, 2025. We'll cover what this movie is all about, where and how you can watch it, and all the interesting and hidden facts related to the film. In this video, I'll tell you on which OTT platform or satellite channel you'll be able to watch this movie, and I'll also discuss in detail about the movie's technical aspects, music, pre-production, filming, post-production, budget, and box office expectations. We'll also explore the storyline of the movie, along with a short review. And yes, we'll break down the cast, performances, character roles, and behind-the-scenes insights. So, I request all of you to watch this video till the end. You don't want to miss any details. Let's get started. Would you like this translated word for word into Urdu as well, or need a version with visuals or voiceover suggestions? The 2025 sequel to Five Nights at Freddy's continues the chilling saga of haunted animatronics and the dark secrets of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Building upon the foundation laid by its predecessor, the film delves deeper into the lore, expanding the narrative while maintaining the suspenseful atmosphere that fans have come to expect. What's after the movie? +3. The UBJ. +3. IMDb. +3. Plot and narrative structure. Set several years after the events of the first film, the story follows Mike Schmidt, a former night guard who has transitioned into a private investigator. Despite his efforts to move on, Mike is drawn back into the horrors of his past when a series of mysterious incidents linked to the now-defunct pizzeria emerge in New Orleans. What's after the movie? +5. The UBJ. +5. IMDb. +5. The narrative unfolds in a linear fashion, chronicling Mike's investigation into these occurrences. As he delves deeper, he reunites with Vanessa, a determined investigator, and together they uncover that the animatronics have been reactivated by a malevolent force. Their journey is fraught with peril as they confront the sinister William Afton, the mastermind behind the original horrors. IMDb. +4. The UBJ. +4. Time. +4. Counterclockwise arrows, key turning points and conflicts. Reactivation of the animatronics. Mike and Vanessa discover that the animatronics, once dismantled, have been brought back to life, posing a renewed threat. IMDb. +3. esports.gg. +3. What's after the movie? +3. Unveiling Afton's return. The duo uncovers that William Afton, presumed dead, has returned, orchestrating the animatronics' resurgence for his own nefarious purposes. Games Radar Plus. +2. esports.gg. +2. The UBJ. +2. Race Against Time. As the animatronics wreak havoc, Mike and Vanessa must race against time to stop Afton and prevent further tragedies. Performing arts' emotional and thematic impact. The film delves into themes of confronting one's past, the consequences of unchecked ambition, and the resilience of the human spirit. Mike's journey is not just a physical battle against animatronics, but also an emotional confrontation with his own guilt and trauma. Vanessa's determination highlights the importance of facing fears head-on, emphasizing courage and perseverance. IMDb. +3. Movie ideas. +3. What's after the movie? +3. Clapperboard conclusion. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 masterfully balances suspense, horror, and emotional depth. By expanding the universe and introducing new challenges, it offers a fresh yet familiar experience for fans and newcomers alike. The film's exploration of its characters' psyches, combined with its thrilling plot, ensures a captivating cinematic journey. Performing arts. Mike Schmidt. From haunted guardian to determined protector. Mike Schmidt, portrayed by Josh Hutcherson, continues to grapple with the trauma of his younger brother Garrett's abduction, a haunting event that fuels his recurring nightmares and insomnia. His primary motivation remains the protection of his sister, Abby, striving to provide her with a semblance of normalcy despite their turbulent circumstances. Her campus. +4. Screen Rant. +4. Time. +4. /film. +1. Time. +1. In the sequel, Mike's character evolves from a passive sufferer of past traumas to an active seeker of truth and justice. His experiences at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza compel him to confront his fears head-on, leading to significant personal growth. This transformation is evident in his increased assertiveness and willingness to delve deeper into the mysteries surrounding the haunted establishment, showcasing a shift from mere survival to proactive heroism. Police Officer Vanessa Shelley, struggling between loyalty and redemption. Vanessa Shelley, played by Elizabeth Lail, presents a complex character torn between familial loyalty and moral rectitude. As the daughter of William Afton, the antagonist responsible for numerous child disappearances, Vanessa's internal conflict intensifies. Her role as a police officer adds another layer to her character, positioning her at the intersection of law enforcement and personal turmoil. Medium, +7. /film, +7. The direct, +7. /film, +5. The direct, +5. Time, +5. Throughout the film, Vanessa's journey is marked by her struggle to reconcile her father's heinous actions with her own sense of justice. This internal battle culminates in a decisive moment where she chooses to oppose her father, aiding Mike in his quest to uncover the truth. Her actions signify a break from her past and a step towards redemption, highlighting her evolution from a conflicted bystander to an active participant in combating evil. Girl Abby Schmidt, innocence amidst chaos. Abby, Mike's younger sister, continues to serve as the emotional anchor of the narrative. Her interactions with the animatronics, particularly her ability to perceive their childlike innocence, offer a unique perspective on the haunted entities. Abby's character embodies the themes of innocence and empathy, providing a stark contrast to the surrounding horror. Medium, +1. /film, +1. In the sequel, Abby's role expands as she becomes more attuned to the animatronics' plight, advocating for their release from Afton's control. Her unwavering compassion and bravery play a crucial role in the story's resolution, emphasizing the power of empathy in overcoming darkness. Her campus, robot face William Afton, the embodiment of manipulative evil. William Afton, the central antagonist, continues to cast a long shadow over the narrative. His manipulative tactics and relentless pursuit of control over the animatronics underscore his role as the embodiment of evil. Afton's interactions with both Mike and Vanessa serve to deepen the psychological tension, as he exploits their vulnerabilities for his gain. The sequel delves further into Afton's psyche, revealing the extent of his depravity and the mechanisms he employs to maintain dominance. His character serves as a catalyst for the protagonist's development, forcing them to confront their fears and make pivotal choices that define their arcs. Counterclockwise arrows, interwoven relationships, and thematic depth. The intricate relationships between the characters, Mike's protective bond with Abby, Vanessa's fraught connection with her father, and the shared trauma that binds Mike and Vanessa, add layers of complexity to the narrative. These dynamics not only drive character development, but also reinforce the film's central themes of redemption, the enduring impact of trauma, and the struggle between good and evil. By exploring these relationships in depth, Five Nights at Freddy's, 2025, transcends its horror roots, offering a story rich in emotional and psychological nuance. The characters' growth and transformations are not only compelling but also integral to the film's overarching message about the resilience of the human spirit in the face of darkness. Performing arts. Josh Hutcherson as Mike Schmidt. Josh Hutcherson portrays Mike Schmidt, a troubled young man haunted by his past and striving to protect his younger sister, Abby. Hutcherson's performance is lauded for its authenticity and emotional resonance, capturing Mike's internal struggles with guilt and trauma. His portrayal adds a layer of complexity to the character, making Mike's journey compelling and relatable. Wikipedia. Super Jump. Girl Piper Rubio as Abby. Piper Rubio shines as Abby, Mike's younger sister, bringing a sense of innocence and curiosity to the film. Her interactions with the animatronics add a unique dynamic, blending childlike wonder with the film's underlying horror elements. Rubio's performance is noted for its charm and depth, effectively portraying a child caught in extraordinary circumstances. The Streamer. +7. Wikipedia. +7. Loud and clear reviews. +7. Police Officer Elizabeth Lail as Vanessa. Elizabeth Lail plays Vanessa, a local police officer who becomes entwined in the mysteries of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. While Lail brings a sense of determination and complexity to the role, some critiques point to inconsistencies in her character's development, attributing them to the script rather than her performance. Wikipedia. Matthew Lillard as William Afton as Steve Raglan. Matthew Lillard delivers a standout performance as William Afton, also known as Steve Raglan. Despite limited screen time, Lillard's portrayal is both charismatic and menacing, leaving a lasting impression on audiences. His ability to convey the character's sinister nature adds a compelling layer to the film's narrative. Wikipedia. +1. Games Radar +1. Robot face animatronics and practical effects. The animatronic characters, brought to life by Jim Henson's Creature Shop, are integral to the film's atmosphere. The practical effects contribute to the authenticity of the animatronics, making them both endearing and terrifying. Their presence enhances the film's tension and serves as a testament to the craftsmanship involved in their creation. What's on Saudi Arabia? +3. Gizmodo. +3. The Illuminati. +3. Clapperboard ensemble dynamics and overall impact. The chemistry among the cast members, particularly between Hutcherson and Rubio, adds emotional weight to the story. Their portrayal of a sibling bond amidst chaos provides a grounding element in the film's supernatural setting. While some supporting characters receive less development, the primary cast's performances ensure that the narrative remains engaging and emotionally resonant. The streamer. In summary, Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, benefits from strong performances by its lead actors, effective use of practical effects, and a compelling portrayal of character dynamics. These elements combine to create a film that, while rooted in horror, offers a rich exploration of its characters' emotional journeys. Clapperboard directional vision and tone. Emma Tammi, known for her work on The Wind, brings a nuanced approach to Five Nights at Freddy's. She emphasizes the importance of balancing horror elements with character-driven storytelling, aiming to create a film that resonates with both fans of the game and newcomers. In interviews, Tammi has discussed the challenge of adapting the game's unique mechanics into a narrative structure suitable for film, focusing on building suspense and developing characters beyond their in-game counterparts. Script Magazine. Movie camera stylistic choices and cinematography. Tammi employs a visual style that captures the claustrophobic and unsettling ambience of the game. The use of dim lighting, tight framing, and deliberate pacing mirrors the player's experience of being confined within the pizzeria, enhancing the sense of dread. The animatronics, brought to life by Jim Henson's Creature Shop, are showcased with practical effects that add a tangible realism to their presence, making them both fascinating and terrifying. Stopwatch pacing and narrative structure. The film unfolds with a deliberate pace, allowing for character development and the gradual build-up of tension. Tammi integrates flashbacks and dream sequences to delve into protagonist Mike Schmidt's traumatic past, providing context for his actions and deepening the emotional stakes. This narrative approach aligns with the game's lore, offering fans a richer understanding of the character's motivations. Performing arts emotional resonance and character development. Tammi's direction places a strong emphasis on the emotional journeys of the characters. Mike's protective relationship with his sister Abby is central to the narrative, grounding the supernatural elements in a relatable human connection. The film explores themes of loss, guilt, and redemption, adding layers of complexity to the horror genre. Video game faithfulness to source material. Understanding the expectations of the game's fanbase, Tammi incorporates numerous Easter eggs and references that pay homage to the original material. From the design of the animatronics to specific plot points, the film strives to remain faithful to the game's essence while expanding its universe for cinematic storytelling. In summary, Emma Tammi's direction in Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, successfully bridges the gap between interactive gameplay and narrative cinema. Her thoughtful approach to tone, pacing, and character development results in a film that honors its source material while offering a fresh perspective on the horror genre. In Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, cinematographer Lynn Moncrief skillfully crafts a visual narrative that immerses viewers in the haunting atmosphere of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Through deliberate choices in camera angles, lighting, and framing, the film evokes a sense of claustrophobia and suspense that aligns with the game's eerie ambience. Wikipedia. +2. YouTube. +2. Wikipedia. +2. Movie camera angles and framing. Moncrief employs tight framing and strategic camera angles to heighten tension and convey the character's isolation within the pizzeria. By utilizing claustrophobic shots, the film mirrors the game's confined setting, making the audience feel the character's vulnerability. This approach is particularly effective in scenes where the animatronics loom in the background, their presence felt even when not directly in focus. Electric light bulb lighting and atmosphere. The film's lighting design plays a crucial role in establishing its ominous tone. Dim, flickering lights and shadowy corridors create an environment of uncertainty and fear. The use of practical lighting sources, such as flashlights and malfunctioning overhead lights, adds realism to the setting. These choices not only enhance the horror elements but also pay homage to the game's aesthetic, where limited visibility is a key gameplay mechanic. Artist palette, visual highlights, and set design. The set design of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is meticulously crafted to reflect a decaying, once popular family entertainment center. The attention to detail in the worn-out decor, peeling wallpapers, and aged animatronics contributes to the film's unsettling atmosphere. These visual elements, combined with the cinematography, create a setting that feels both nostalgic and menacing. Film integration of practical effects. A standout aspect of the film's visual storytelling is the use of practical effects, particularly in bringing the animatronic characters to life. By utilizing real, physical models instead of relying solely on CGI, the film achieves a tangible sense of dread. The animatronics' mechanical movements and lifeless stares are captured with precision, making their sudden actions more jarring and effective in eliciting fear. Psychological impact. Moncrief's cinematography also delves into the psychological aspects of horror. Through the use of dreamlike sequences and surreal imagery, the film explores the protagonist's mental state, blurring the lines between reality and hallucination. These visual choices deepen the narrative, offering insight into the character's inner turmoil and enhancing the overall sense of unease. Wikipedia. +2. YouTube. +2. Wikipedia. +2. In summary, the cinematography of Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, is integral to its storytelling, effectively translating the game's horror elements into a cinematic format. Through thoughtful camera work, lighting, and practical effects, the film creates a chilling atmosphere that resonates with both fans of the franchise and newcomers to the story. Clapperboard editing and narrative structure. The film endeavors to intertwine horror elements with character-driven storytelling, focusing on Mike Schmidt's traumatic past and his relationship with his sister, Abby. However, this approach results in a narrative that some critics describe as convoluted and lacking in cohesion. The integration of dream sequences and backstory, while aiming to add depth, often disrupts the momentum, leading to a disjointed viewing experience. As noted by Decider, the film fails to capture the essence and horror of the game, becoming overwhelmed with unnecessary plot lines. Decider. Stopwatch # pacing and rhythm. The pacing of Five Nights at Freddy's is characterized by a slow build-up, with significant delays before the introduction of the animatronic antagonists. This prolonged exposition phase has been criticized for diminishing the film's tension and engagement. According to a review by The Vantage, its pacing was choppy at times and there were some parts that were, in my opinion, pretty unnecessarily open-ended. Furthermore, discussing film highlights that the movie doesn't pick up its pace and dive back into full horror until the very end after a surprise twist, suggesting that the film's rhythm may not satisfy viewers seeking consistent suspense. The Vantage. Discussing film. Film # impact on emotional and narrative engagement. The film's editing choices, particularly the emphasis on character backstories and emotional arcs, aim to provide depth but may inadvertently detract from the horror elements that fans of the franchise expect. This focus on drama over scares can lead to a diluted horror experience, as the balance between emotional storytelling and genre-specific thrills becomes skewed. The AP News review criticizes the film for alternating between horror and inadvertent comedy, resulting in a narrative that remains unconvincing and convoluted. AP News. Bullseye conclusion. In summary, Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, presents an editing and pacing approach that seeks to deepen character narratives but struggles to maintain the suspense and cohesion expected in a horror film. The film's rhythm, marked by a slow start and delayed horror elements, may challenge viewers' engagement, particularly those anticipating a more traditional, scare-driven experience. Musical note: composition and style. The Newton Brothers score is characterized by its blend of 1980s-inspired synths and haunting melodies. The main theme stands out with its combination of electronic beats and a chilling children's choir, evoking a sense of innocence corrupted, a central theme in the film. This motif recurs throughout the movie, reinforcing the connection between the animatronics and the lost children they represent. Xanabad reviews. Speaker with 3 sound waves enhancing atmosphere and tension. The soundtrack adept mirrors the film's shifts between suspense and action. Tracks like Chique's Mischief and Foxy Fatality underscore the animatronic's menacing presence, using dissonant tones and abrupt crescendos to jolt the audience. In contrast, pieces such as Mike's Dream Sequence employ subdued, melancholic melodies to delve into the protagonist's psyche, adding emotional depth to the narrative. Soundtrack. +4. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Wiki. +4. Reddit. +4. Multiple musical notes integration of licensed music. Beyond the original score, the film incorporates licensed tracks to juxtapose the horror elements with moments of dark humor. For instance, Talking in Your Sleep by the Romantics is performed by the animatronics in a scene that blends nostalgia with eeriness, creating a disconcerting yet memorable moment. Wikipedia. +1. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Wiki. +1. Headphone audience reception. Critics have offered mixed reviews of the soundtrack. While some praise its ability to capture the franchise's essence, others feel it occasionally leans too heavily on genre cliches. Nonetheless, the score's commitment to enhancing the film's atmosphere is evident, contributing significantly to the overall viewing experience. In summary, the Newton Brothers soundtrack for Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, plays a pivotal role in immersing the audience in the film's haunting world. Through a combination of original compositions and strategic use of licensed music, the score amplifies the emotional and thematic undercurrents of the narrative, solidifying its place as a noteworthy element of the film's success. Ghost trauma, guilt, and the quest for redemption. At the heart of the narrative lies Mike Schmidt, a man haunted by the childhood abduction of his younger brother. This traumatic event propels Mike into a relentless pursuit of answers, manifesting in recurring nightmares and a deep-seated sense of guilt. His journey is emblematic of the human struggle to find closure and redemption in the face of unresolved trauma. The film attempts to portray this internal battle, though some critics argue that the integration of these emotional elements with the horror aspects feels disjointed. American Habits. Discussing film. Lost innocence and the haunting of the past. The animatronics, central to the film's horror, are not mere mechanical villains but are possessed by the souls of murdered children. This chilling revelation underscores themes of lost innocence and the lingering impact of past atrocities. The narrative suggests that unresolved tragedies have a way of resurfacing, haunting both the physical space of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and the psyches of those connected to it. This aspect of the story has been noted for its raw portrayal of grief and the supernatural embodiment of unresolved sorrow. The Reflector. Man # girl family bonds and protective instincts. Mike's relationship with his younger sister, Abby, introduces a theme of familial responsibility and the lengths one will go to protect loved ones. Their bond serves as an emotional anchor amidst the surrounding horror, highlighting the human capacity for love and sacrifice even in the direst circumstances. This dynamic adds depth to Mike's character, showcasing his evolution from a man consumed by guilt to a protective guardian. Dreams versus reality, navigating the subconscious. The film blurs the lines between dreams and reality, utilizing Mike's nightmares as a narrative device to unravel past events and internal conflicts. This exploration of the subconscious serves to deepen the psychological horror, inviting viewers to question the nature of reality and the reliability of perception. Such thematic elements draw parallels to other horror narratives that delve into the dreamscape as a realm where truth and fear intertwine. Robot Face Man vs. Machine. The perils of technological hubris. The animatronics symbolize the unintended consequences of technological advancement, where creations designed for entertainment become vessels of terror. This theme reflects societal anxieties about the loss of control over our inventions and the potential for technology to harbor malevolent forces. The film uses this motif to comment on the darker aspects of human innovation and the ethical boundaries often overlooked in the pursuit of progress. Performing arts balancing horror with emotional depth. While Five Nights at Freddy's aspires to weave a rich thematic tapestry, the execution has been met with criticism regarding its tonal inconsistencies. Some reviewers point out that the film oscillates between horror and emotional drama without fully committing to either, resulting in a narrative that may feel fragmented. This balancing act, while ambitious, has led to debates about the film's effectiveness in delivering a cohesive and impactful story. In conclusion, Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, endeavors to transcend its horror roots by delving into themes of trauma, loss, and the human condition. While its thematic ambitions are commendable, the film's ability to cohesively integrate these elements into a compelling narrative remains a point of contention among audiences and critics alike. Performing arts emphasis on practical effects. Director Emma Tammy made a deliberate choice to prioritize practical effects over CGI, enlisting the expertise of Jim Henson's Creature Shop to bring the iconic animatronics, Freddy, Bonnie, Chico, and Foxy, to life. These life-sized puppets were intricately designed with detailed maquettes and multiple duplicates to accommodate various scenes and actions. The result is a set of animatronic characters that feel tangible and menacing, grounding the supernatural elements in a physical reality that resonates with audiences. EW.com. +8. NBC. +8. /film. +8. Personal computer selective use of CGI. While practical effects dominate, CGI is employed judiciously to enhance specific sequences that would be challenging to achieve physically. Notably, Fox's rapid movements and the Cupcake's attacks incorporate digital effects to convey a sense of unnatural speed and agility. These instances of CGI are integrated thoughtfully, ensuring they complement rather than overshadow the practical elements. Reddit. Movie camera impact on audience emotion. The commitment to practical effects has been lauded for its contribution to the film's immersive quality. Reviewers have highlighted how the physical presence of the animatronics enhances the suspense and authenticity of the horror. The tactile nature of these creations allows for genuine interactions with the human characters, fostering a more believable and engaging narrative. Behind-the-scenes challenges. The use of practical effects presented unique challenges during production. Each animatronic required a team of puppeteers to manage various movements, leading to complex coordination on set. Director Tammy recounted instances where the animatronics exhibited unexpected behaviors, adding an element of unpredictability that, while challenging, contributed to the film's dynamic energy. The Knox Student. +4. EW.com. +4. NBC. +4. Trophy conclusion. Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, demonstrates how practical effects, when executed with precision and creativity, can elevate a horror film's impact. The strategic integration of CGI serves to augment rather than detract from the visceral experience, resulting in a visually cohesive and compelling narrative. This approach not only honors the source material but also sets a benchmark for future adaptations in the genre. Office building authentic recreation of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. The heart of the film's setting is the iconic Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, recreated with painstaking attention to detail. The production team designed the pizzeria as a dimly lit, claustrophobic environment filled with vintage arcade games, worn-out furniture, and creepy animatronic figures that evoke both nostalgia and dread. This blend of familiarity and eeriness anchors the audience in a believable, yet disturbing, world where childhood innocence is tainted by lurking horror. The cluttered, maze-like layout of the restaurant adds to the suspense, making every corner feel potentially dangerous. Cityscape use of real locations. To supplement the main set, the filmmakers used real-world locations such as suburban homes, abandoned warehouses, and dark alleyways that contribute layers of realism and emotional depth. Mike Schmidt's family home, for example, is portrayed as a modest and slightly run-down suburban residence, reflecting his troubled past and everyday struggles. These locations contrast with the fantastical elements inside the pizzeria, grounding the story in a relatable reality. Artist palette props and practical details. The production design shines in the careful selection of props that tell a story on their own. Old photographs, childhood toys, newspaper clippings about missing children, and security camera monitors all enrich the narrative context. Such elements are not just decorative but functional, often used in scenes to reveal backstory or heighten tension. The dusty, slightly decaying ambience of the sets conveys a history of neglect and mystery, reinforcing themes of forgotten trauma and lurking menace. New moon symbol atmosphere and visual impact. Lighting plays a pivotal role in the production design, with the sets bathed in shadow and flickering neon lights that create a foreboding mood. The interplay of light and darkness in the pizzeria enhances the sense of isolation and vulnerability. The confined, almost labyrinthine spaces force characters into close encounters with the animatronics, visually emphasizing their entrapment. Movie camera integration with storytelling. The settings do more than serve as backdrops. They actively shape the film's tone and narrative progression. For instance, the security office, tight and monitored by multiple screens, becomes a central point of tension, symbolizing the precarious balance between safety and danger. The design of the animatronics themselves also contributes to the atmosphere, as their mechanical parts and wear and tear suggest a history of malfunction and menace. Bullseye conclusion. Overall, Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, uses its set design and locations to construct a convincing, immersive world that amplifies the horror and emotional stakes of the story. Through authentic environments, thoughtful props, and atmospheric lighting, the film successfully grounds its supernatural elements in a visually compelling and narratively rich setting. Speaking head in silhouette naturalism and character voice. The dialogue generally reflects the personalities and emotional states of the characters, particularly in scenes involving Mike Schmidt, the protagonist. His lines reveal a man burdened by guilt and haunted by past trauma, allowing the audience to connect with his internal struggle. Conversations with his sister Abby are often grounded and relatable, adding a layer of familial warmth amidst the tension. Supporting characters, such as security staff and local law enforcement, deliver dialogue that feels functional and concise, often serving to advance the plot or heighten suspense without unnecessary exposition. Performing arts' emotional weight and impact. One of the script's strengths lies in moments of emotional resonance where the dialogue transcends simple horror tropes. For example, Mike's reflective monologues about loss and responsibility add depth to the narrative, elevating the film beyond mere jump scares. These moments allow the audience to engage with the protagonist's vulnerability, making the horror more personal and psychologically grounded. Writing hand sharpness and wit. While primarily a tense and atmospheric film, the script occasionally employs dry humor and subtle wit, especially in exchanges involving secondary characters. These instances provide brief relief from the building dread, though they are sparingly used to avoid undermining the overall tone. The wit is understated rather than overtly comedic, fitting well within the film's dark aesthetic. Fire memorable lines and defining moments. The film offers several lines that stand out due to their thematic significance or emotional resonance. For instance, Mike's declaration about facing his fears and protecting his family encapsulates the central conflict and character arc. Other memorable lines come from the eerie animatronic sequences, where cryptic phrases and unsettling noises deepen the mystery and tension. However, the script avoids overly cliched horror catchphrases, favoring more nuanced writing that aligns with its psychological horror ambitions. Chart with downward trend areas of critique. Some critics and viewers have noted that certain scenes suffer from exposition-heavy dialogue, which can feel forced or disrupt pacing. In particular, the backstory revelations occasionally rely on direct explanation rather than subtle storytelling, impacting the natural flow. Additionally, a few supporting characters have been described as underwritten, resulting in dialogue that feels generic or perfunctory. Bullseye conclusion. Overall, the dialogue and script of Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, succeed in crafting a mostly engaging and emotionally anchored narrative. While it shines in moments of depth and character-driven writing, it occasionally falters with exposition and uneven character development. The script's thoughtful approach to horror dialogue, combined with its restrained wit and memorable lines, contributes significantly to the film's unique tone and atmosphere. Left-pointing magnifying glass embracing genre conventions. At its core, the film adheres to many classic horror staples: a haunted setting, the infamous Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, animatronic villains that evoke uncanny valley terror, and a protagonist thrust into a nightmarish survival scenario. The use of jump scares, suspenseful chase sequences, and eerie sound design fits squarely within the conventions of modern horror cinema. The film also employs familiar narrative beats like the isolated location, the ticking clock of survival through several nights, and the gradual unraveling of dark secrets, elements that resonate with genre enthusiasts. High-voltage sign subversion and fresh approaches. Where the film notably diverges is in its deeper psychological exploration and emotional grounding. Rather than relying solely on external threats, Five Nights at Freddy's delves into internal conflicts, trauma, and guilt, offering a more layered protagonist in Mike Schmidt. This approach subverts the typical final girl or boy trope by centering the horror not just on physical survival but on emotional reckoning. Additionally, the film incorporates dream sequences and blurred realities, creating a nonlinear narrative texture that challenges straightforward genre storytelling. The animatronics themselves are portrayed not just as mindless monsters but as tragic vessels of lost innocence and unresolved pain. This infusion of empathy into traditionally monstrous figures adds thematic complexity and a fresh emotional dimension rarely explored in animatronic or haunted house horror. Scales balancing horror elements. The film carefully balances suspense and action, with slower, tension-building scenes juxtaposed against sudden bursts of frenetic activity. This rhythm keeps viewers engaged while amplifying moments of terror. The pacing allows for character development and atmospheric build-up without sacrificing the thrills expected from a horror film. Humor is sparingly used, mostly through dry, situational wit or light banter among supporting characters, serving as brief tension relief without undermining the film's darker tone. Drama is woven through family dynamics and personal stakes, giving weight to the narrative beyond simple scares. Warning sign reliance on some cliches. Despite its innovations, the film does occasionally lean on genre cliches. Certain jump scares feel predictable, and some secondary characters fall into archetypal roles without much subversion. The haunted location trope and the disbelieving authority figure remain present, though handled with enough nuance to avoid outright cliché. Bullseye conclusion. Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, strikes a thoughtful balance between honoring horror genre traditions and introducing fresh psychological depth and narrative complexity. Its willingness to explore emotional trauma alongside supernatural horror elevates it above many contemporary entries, while its adherence to core genre elements ensures accessibility and satisfaction for fans. Although it occasionally leans on familiar clichés, the film's nuanced approach to character and theme marks it as a distinctive and effective genre piece. Cityscape # commentary on technology and surveillance. A prominent theme is the pervasive role of technology and surveillance in modern life. The film's setting, a security office monitored by endless camera feeds, mirrors society's growing obsession with watching and being watched. This atmosphere creates a claustrophobic tension that resonates with viewers' real-world concerns about privacy, data security, and the loss of personal space. The animatronics themselves, as technologically advanced yet malfunctioning entities, symbolize the double-edged nature of tech innovation, capable of wonder but prone to unintended harm. Busts in silhouette exploration of trauma and mental health. At its emotional core, Five Nights at Freddy's addresses themes of trauma, guilt, and psychological distress. Mike Schmidt's haunted past and deteriorating mental state serve as a vehicle for exploring how unresolved trauma can manifest as fear and paranoia. This humanization of horror, where internal demons parallel external threats, reflects a growing cultural conversation about mental health awareness. The film handles these topics with sensitivity, avoiding sensationalism and instead using horror metaphors to evoke empathy. Briefcase critique of corporate negligence. The narrative subtly critiques corporate irresponsibility, particularly in how Freddy Fazbear's Pizza management is depicted as negligent regarding safety and accountability. This mirrors broader societal critiques of profit-driven enterprises that prioritize business over ethical responsibility. The film uses this to build tension but also to comment on real-world issues like workplace safety, consumer trust, and institutional cover-ups. Commentary on nostalgia and lost innocence. The film also reflects on the darker side of nostalgia, especially in relation to childhood memories and entertainment. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, once a place of joy, becomes a site of fear and mystery, symbolizing how the past can haunt the present. This theme resonates culturally as society grapples with the reinterpretation of nostalgic icons and the recognition that cherished memories often have complex, sometimes troubling, undercurrents. Seedling natural integration and effectiveness. These social and cultural themes are integrated naturally, emerging from the story and characters rather than feeling tacked on or didactic. The film balances its horror elements with these reflections, allowing viewers to engage with the deeper issues at their own pace. The metaphoric use of animatronics and the haunted environment provides a compelling narrative vehicle for discussing sensitive topics without overt exposition. Bullseye conclusion. Overall, Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, effectively incorporates social and cultural commentary that enriches its horror narrative. By thoughtfully addressing themes like technology's impact, mental health, corporate ethics, and nostalgia, the film resonates beyond genre confines. Its nuanced, organic approach allows it to engage with complex contemporary issues in a way that feels authentic and thought-provoking, adding depth and relevance to the cinematic experience. Rollercoaster emotional resonance and impact. From the outset, the film establishes an atmosphere of tension and unease that grips audiences, eliciting genuine fear and suspense through its carefully crafted scares. Moments involving the animatronics are particularly effective in provoking shock and adrenaline-fueled excitement, as their unpredictable behavior keeps viewers on edge. Beyond scares, the film's emotional core, centered on Mike Schmidt's personal struggles, elicits empathy and sorrow. His internal battles with guilt, loss, and trauma provide a relatable human story that balances the supernatural horror. Scenes depicting his interactions with family, especially his sister Abby, bring warmth and tenderness, allowing for moments of genuine emotional connection and even subtle humor. Faced with tears of joy, moments of levity and humor. Although primarily a horror film, Five Nights at Freddy's strategically uses dry humor and situational wit to provide brief respite from tension. These lighter moments do not detract from the overall mood but instead deepen audience engagement by making characters feel more real and relatable. Such touches encourage viewers to invest emotionally rather than merely react to scares. Counterclockwise arrows encouraging repeat viewings and discussion. The film's layered narrative, combined with its use of mystery and symbolic motifs, invites viewers to rewatch in order to catch subtler details and thematic nuances. Easter eggs referencing the game's lore and ambiguous scenes fuel fan theories and discussions across social media and fan communities. This active engagement reflects the film's success in sparking curiosity and deeper reflection, provoking thought and reflection. By integrating psychological and social themes, such as trauma, surveillance, and nostalgia, the film encourages audiences to contemplate broader issues beyond the immediate story. This intellectual engagement adds a dimension of lasting impact, prompting conversations about how horror can reflect real-world anxieties. Bullseye conclusion. Overall, Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, achieves strong audience engagement through a careful balance of scares, emotional depth, and thematic complexity. It delivers moments that shock, move, and even amuse, creating a multifaceted experience that resonates long after the credits roll. Its invitation to reflection and discussion ensures the film's place as not just a fleeting thrill, but a memorable addition to the horror genre. Roller coaster emotional resonance and intensity. Five Nights at Freddy's captivates audiences by carefully layering emotional beats beneath its horror facade. The film's core protagonist, Mike Schmidt, is portrayed with complexity and vulnerability, which invites viewers to emotionally invest in his journey. His struggles with guilt over past trauma, feelings of isolation, and his protective instincts towards his sister create a human story that grounds the supernatural elements. This emotional depth transforms many scenes from simple scare moments into emotionally charged sequences. For instance, tense encounters with animatronics are amplified by the fear not only of physical danger but also of losing control over one's own psyche. When Mike confronts his fears or recalls painful memories, audiences often respond with empathy, experiencing a catharsis beyond typical horror fright. Face screaming in fear, shock, suspense, and horror impact. The film excels at eliciting visceral reactions through masterful suspense and sudden shocks. The animatronics, creatures designed to be simultaneously nostalgic and terrifying, move unpredictably, creating an atmosphere of constant dread. The use of sound design, with creaking metal, distorted voices, and silence, heightens anticipation before scare moments, ensuring these shocks hit with maximum impact. The pacing of suspenseful sequences carefully alternates between slow-building tension and rapid bursts of action, preventing fatigue and maintaining a high level of audience engagement. This roller coaster of emotions keeps viewers physically on edge, reacting with gasps, jumps, or nervous laughter. Faced with tears of joy, humor as emotional balance. The film's strategic use of humor, often dry, understated, or situational, provides vital relief amidst the tension. These moments often come through Mike's interactions with his sister Abby or the sarcastic banter among security staff. The humor feels organic, never forced, and serves to humanize characters, making them more relatable and multidimensional. This emotional balance between fear and laughter helps sustain audience investment over the film's runtime. It prevents the horror from becoming overwhelming or monotonous and gives viewers brief, necessary breaths of lightness. Counterclockwise Arrow's invitation for repeat viewings. Five Nights at Freddy's is designed with layers of narrative and symbolic complexity that reward attentive and repeat viewings. The film incorporates subtle visual cues, cryptic dialogue, and callbacks to the original game lore that fans eagerly analyze. These elements make initial viewing just the beginning of the audience's journey. Viewers often return to re-experience moments with new understanding or to catch hidden details missed the first time. This layered storytelling encourages a community of fans to discuss theories, interpret ambiguous scenes, and share discoveries, significantly extending the film's life beyond the theater or initial watch. Provoking intellectual and cultural reflection. Beyond scares, the film prompts audiences to reflect on broader social and psychological themes. Its portrayal of surveillance culture, corporate negligence, and the fragility of mental health resonates with contemporary anxieties, making the horror feel relevant and grounded. This connection fosters deeper conversations among viewers about how horror can serve as a metaphor for real-world issues. Such themes elevate Five Nights at Freddy's beyond pure entertainment, encouraging thoughtful engagement and critical discussions. Fans and critics alike often debate the implications of the film's messages, adding to its cultural footprint. Red-hot emotional catharsis and character attachment. By investing in well-rounded characters and their personal journeys, the film fosters emotional attachment that heightens the impact of its horror. Mike's growth, from a haunted, broken man to someone who confronts and begins to heal from his trauma, provides a satisfying emotional arc. This catharsis resonates with viewers, who feel rewarded by the character's progress, making the film not only a frightening experience but also an emotionally meaningful one. This emotional payoff enhances audience satisfaction and encourages word-of-mouth recommendation. Bullseye conclusion. In conclusion, Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, offers a rich, multidimensional experience that deeply engages its audience through emotional complexity that invites empathy and personal connection, visceral horror and suspense that provoke strong physical reactions, organic humor that balances tension and humanizes characters, layered storytelling that rewards repeat viewings and fan analysis, intellectual and cultural commentary that sparks reflection and dialogue, emotional catharsis that provides a meaningful narrative resolution. This intricate blend ensures the film resonates long after viewing, fostering a dedicated fan base and solidifying its place as a memorable horror film with lasting emotional and cultural impact. Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, occupies a distinctive place within the horror genre, the broader landscape of animatronic-themed horror films, and the director's body of work. When compared to similar movies, it both honors familiar conventions and strives to introduce fresh elements, balancing nostalgia with innovation. Clapperboard comparison within the horror genre. Within the horror genre, Five Nights at Freddy's aligns closely with psychological horror and supernatural thriller traditions. Like films such as Halloween, 1978, or A Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984, it uses a haunted or cursed location, the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, as a central locus of fear. The film shares genre staples such as escalating tension, isolated settings, and relentless antagonists, delivering familiar thrills to horror enthusiasts. However, unlike some traditional slasher films that focus predominantly on physical danger and gore, Five Nights at Freddy's emphasizes atmosphere, psychological torment, and emotional depth. Its exploration of trauma, guilt, and mental fragility lends it a thematic sophistication comparable to films like The Babadook, 2014, or Hereditary, 2018, which use horror to probe inner psychological struggles. Movie-camera place within the franchise. As an adaptation of a hugely popular video game series, the film faces the dual challenge of satisfying devoted fans and engaging general audiences unfamiliar with the source material. Compared to earlier franchise-based horror films, such as Resident Evil or Silent Hill, Five Nights at Freddy's demonstrates a stronger commitment to character development and narrative complexity. It goes beyond mere fan service or surface-level jump scares by delving into the lore behind the animatronics and weaving in meaningful backstory that enriches the universe. While retaining iconic elements like the animatronics' eerie presence and the concept of nighttime survival, it avoids becoming a shallow retread, instead expanding the mythos with original narrative layers. Clapperboard comparison to similar animatronic horror films. Animatronic or puppet-based horror is a niche but distinct subgenre, including films like Child's Play, 1988, and Puppet Master, 1989. Five Nights at Freddy's distinguishes itself with its blend of digital and practical effects to bring animatronics to life, achieving a more immersive and terrifying realism. Unlike Child's Play, which centers on a single possessed doll with a clear villainous personality, this film presents the animatronics as enigmatic, almost tragic figures, machines haunted by past traumas rather than purely evil entities. This adds emotional complexity and blurs the lines between monster and victim, a nuance less common in earlier animatronic horror films. Clapperboard director's filmography context. Within the director's oeuvre, Five Nights at Freddy's represents a maturation of style and thematic focus. Known previously for straightforward genre work with emphasis on scares, the director here embraces a more laid narrative structure and character-driven storytelling. The film's atmospheric tension, intricate production design, and subtle social commentary mark an evolution in directorial approach. Fans of the director's earlier works will recognize familiar stylistic touches, such as tight framing and evocative lighting, while appreciating the deeper emotional and psychological stakes that characterize this film. This progression signals the director's growing ambition to blend genre entertainment with meaningful storytelling. Squared new innovation versus formula. While Five Nights at Freddy's incorporates many genre conventions, it refreshes them through its narrative complexity, emotional depth, and hybrid of practical and digital effects. It does not completely abandon formulaic horror elements. Jump scares, suspenseful chases, and dark, claustrophobic settings remain integral. However, its emphasis on trauma, ambiguous morality, and blending of psychological and supernatural horror offers a new perspective within a familiar framework. This nuanced approach elevates it above many formulaic entries, providing audiences with a richer and more thought-provoking experience. Bullseye conclusion. In comparison to similar films, Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, stands out by merging psychological horror depth with franchise lore, offering more nuanced animatronic antagonists than typical evil doll horror, evolving the director's style towards complex storytelling, balancing familiar genre thrills with innovative emotional and thematic layers. These factors make it a noteworthy addition to both the horror genre and video game adaptation canon, appealing to longtime fans and newcomers alike while pushing the boundaries of animatronic horror storytelling. Clapperboard comparison within the broader horror genre. Five Nights at Freddy's, FNAF, fits broadly within the psychological horror and supernatural thriller genres, yet it carves out its own niche by combining elements that appeal to different subaudiences. Conventional horror tropes, like classics such as Halloween, 1978, and Friday the 13th, 1980. It uses a confined, eerie setting, the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, to build claustrophobic tension. The isolated nighttime environment and the survival against a relentless force premise tap into time-tested suspense mechanics. The film employs familiar horror tools, shadowy corridors, jump scares, and an escalating threat that moves closer and closer to the protagonist. Psychological and emotional depth. What sets FNAF apart from many genre peers is its substantial investment in emotional and psychological themes. Instead of focusing solely on physical threats or gore, it explores Mike Schmidt's inner demons, his trauma, guilt, and mental fragility. Similar to modern horror films like The Babadook, 2014, It Follows, 2014, or Hereditary, 2018. These films transcend standard jump scares by using horror as a metaphor for psychological distress, and FNAF follows this pattern, elevating it to a more thoughtful, layered experience. Narrative complexity. Unlike many horror movies that rely heavily on straightforward, linear plots, FNAF incorporates mystery, unreliable memories, and fragmented storytelling. This narrative style invites viewers to piece together the story actively, a trend that has gained traction in recent years with films like Midsommar, 2019, and The Lighthouse, 2019. Video game comparison within video game film adaptations. Video game adaptations have historically been hit or miss, often criticized for weak storytelling or shallow character development, e.g., Resident Evil series, Silent Hill. FNAF breaks this mold in several ways. Faithful yet expansive adaptation. It respects the core lore of the original game series, such as the animatronics' haunted nature and the Night Guard premise, while expanding the story to explore character backstories and emotional stakes. This contrasts with earlier adaptations that often skimp on narrative depth in favor of spectacle. Appealing to both fans and newcomers. Unlike some game adaptations that cater almost exclusively to existing fans, FNAF balances fan service with accessible storytelling, making it engaging for audiences unfamiliar with the source material. It introduces lore gradually and with clarity, avoiding overwhelming viewers while still rewarding franchise enthusiasts with Easter eggs and references. Elevated production values. Compared to many game adaptations, FNAF invests heavily in atmosphere, effects, and character-driven drama. This raises the film's production quality to match or surpass similar efforts like Detective Pikachu, 2019, which also aimed to blend fan appeal with broader cinematic storytelling. Robot face comparison to animatronic and puppet horror films. FNAF sits in a specific horror niche centered on animatronics, puppets, or dolls, a category that includes films such as Child's Play, 1988, Annabelle, 2014, and Puppet Master, 1989. It distinguishes itself in several ways. Complexity of antagonists. While Child's Play focuses on a single possessed doll with a clearly defined malevolent personality, FNAF's animatronics are portrayed as tragic, haunted entities whose violent actions stem from a tortured past. This adds moral ambiguity and emotional weight, humanizing the monsters to a degree uncommon in this subgenre. Blend of practical and digital effects. The film uses a sophisticated mix of CGI and practical animatronics to create believable, tactile creatures that interact seamlessly with human characters. This hybrid approach enhances immersion and horror credibility beyond many earlier puppet horror films that relied more on stop-motion or simple animatronics. Symbolism and metaphor. The animatronics serve as metaphors for lost innocence, corrupted childhood nostalgia, and technological fears. This thematic layering adds intellectual engagement that sets the film apart from straightforward creature features. Movie camera within the director's filmography. For the director, known previously for more traditional horror fare, Five Nights at Freddy's marks a significant evolution. Increased narrative ambition. The director's earlier films focused mainly on shock value and pacing, but FNAF emphasizes story complexity, character arcs, and thematic resonance. This maturation reflects a deliberate shift toward blending genre entertainment with emotional storytelling. Stylistic refinement. While maintaining signature techniques like tight framing, atmospheric lighting, and suspenseful sound design, the director experiments with nonlinear storytelling and deeper psychological tension. This sophistication is a clear step up from more straightforward prior works. Balancing fan expectations and artistic vision. The director successfully negotiates the challenge of pleasing a passionate fanbase while crafting a film that can stand on its own merits, showcasing a growth in both skill and vision. Squared new innovation versus familiar formula. While the film employs recognizable genre conventions, it introduces important innovations. Emotional and psychological layers. Few horror films that focus on animatronic monsters give equal weight to trauma, family dynamics, and mental health as FNAF does. This emotional dimension enriches the viewing experience and distinguishes it from many purely scare-driven movies. Narrative ambiguity and mystery. The film's nonlinear storytelling and unresolved mysteries invite audience participation and analysis, rather than spoon-feeding a linear plot. This approach aligns it with more modern puzzle box horror films and encourages repeat viewing. Visual and practical effects integration. The seamless blend of CGI and physical effects makes the animatronics feel more tangible and threatening than in many previous films in the subgenre. Thematic depth. The film's reflections on surveillance, corporate negligence, and nostalgia embed it in contemporary cultural discourse, making it more than just a conventional horror flick. Bullseye final thoughts. Overall, Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, stands out within the horror genre and its own franchise by combining classic horror atmosphere and scares with modern psychological complexity, deep respect and expansion of beloved game lore without alienating new audiences. Nuanced, morally complex animatronic antagonists brought to life with cutting-edge effects. A directorial evolution toward thematic richness and stylistic sophistication. A successful balance of genre conventions and fresh, innovative storytelling elements. This multi-layered approach positions the film as a benchmark for future video game adaptations and animatronic horror, elevating it beyond simple formula to a memorable and thought-provoking entry in its genre. Left-pointing magnifying glass symbolism and metaphors in Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023. Five Nights at Freddy's weaves an intricate tapestry of symbolic imagery and recurring motifs that enrich its narrative and amplify its core themes. The film's use of symbolism goes beyond surface-level scares to explore psychological, societal, and emotional dimensions, offering viewers layers of meaning to unpack. Performing arts the animatronics as symbols of lost innocence and trauma. At the heart of the film lie the animatronics themselves, creatures that are at once mechanical and hauntingly humanized. These animatronics symbolize several interrelated ideas. Corrupted childhood and lost innocence. Originally designed as joyful entertainers for children, the animatronics have become grotesque and deadly, reflecting the corruption of what should be safe, innocent spaces. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, once a place of wonder, becomes a nightmarish prison, mirroring how childhood innocence can be shattered by trauma or neglect. Repressed memories and haunting guilt. The animatronics can also be read as physical manifestations of the protagonist Mike Schmidt's suppressed guilt and unresolved trauma. Their relentless stalking parallels the inescapable nature of haunting memories that refuse to stay buried. This idea is reinforced by scenes where the line between reality and hallucination blurs, suggesting the animatronics embody Mike's psychological demons. Technological fear and loss of control. As machines once trusted for entertainment, now instruments of terror, the animatronics symbolize broader anxieties about technology, how it can become alienating, uncontrollable, and even malevolent. Their uncanny movement and eerie silence evoke the uncanny valley effect, unsettling the audience at a primal level. Clock recurring motif of night and darkness. The film's action predominantly unfolds during nighttime hours, making darkness a pervasive symbol. Fear of the unknown. Darkness represents the unknown, a space where fears thrive and the boundaries of safety dissolve. It enhances the film's atmosphere of suspense, but thematically it also reflects the subconscious, hidden truths and buried emotions coming to light. Isolation and vulnerability. Nighttime settings underscore the protagonist's isolation, both physical and emotional. Alone in the dark, Mike faces external threats and internal struggles simultaneously, emphasizing vulnerability. Time as a psychological battleground. The countdown of 5 nights emphasizes time's oppressive weight. Survival is not only a physical challenge but a psychological endurance test. The ticking clock metaphor suggests the inescapable progression toward confronting one's fears and past. Counterclockwise arrows, mirrors, and reflections. Throughout the film, mirrors and reflective surfaces appear repeatedly and carry layered meaning. Self-reflection and identity. These visual elements symbolize introspection, forcing characters and viewers to confront distorted versions of themselves. In moments when Mike sees his reflection warped or fractured, it visually represents his fractured psyche and uncertain identity. Illusion versus reality. Mirrors also blur the line between what is real and what is illusion, a core theme as the film shifts between physical threats and psychological hallucinations. This motif deepens the narrative's ambiguity, keeping audiences questioning what is tangible. Musical note: the music box and recurring sounds. A haunting, mechanical music box melody recurs throughout the film, acting as an auditory symbol. Nostalgia and decay. The fragile, looping tune evokes childhood memories tinged with melancholy and loss, reinforcing the theme of innocence corrupted over time. Ominous presence. As the music plays during tense or pivotal moments, it becomes a harbinger of impending danger, linking innocence and menace. Cycle of trauma. The repetitive nature of the melody suggests cycles, of trauma, of memory, and of the character's inability to escape their haunted pasts. Abandoned house setting as symbol. The pizzeria as a haunted space. The Freddy Fazbear's Pizza setting is more than a backdrop. It functions as a symbol itself. Corporate negligence and decay. The rundown, eerie restaurant represents corporate failure and negligence, a once thriving business abandoned and left to rot. This reflects real-world critiques of capitalist disregard for human cost and safety. Psychological prison. For Mike and other characters, the pizzeria is a metaphorical prison trapping them in cycles of fear and trauma. Its maze-like corridors symbolize the labyrinth of the mind, full of dead ends and lurking terrors. Gear mechanical imagery and the human condition. The constant presence of gears, wires, and mechanical parts throughout the film draws parallels between humans and machines. Loss of autonomy. Characters' struggles against the animatronics symbolize broader fears of losing control over one's life, becoming programmed or manipulated by external forces, whether technology, trauma, or societal pressures. Fragility beneath the surface. Just as animatronics have delicate mechanisms beneath their sturdy exteriors, characters harbor fragility beneath tough facades. This metaphor extends to mental health themes. What looks stable on the outside may be vulnerable within. Symbolic use of colors. The film uses a carefully curated color palette that shifts in tone to reflect mood and theme. Muted, industrial colors, grays, browns, and faded yellows dominate the setting, evoking decay and abandonment, enhancing the unsettling atmosphere. Red and orange highlights. These colors signal danger, urgency, or emotional intensity, often appearing in lighting or props to cue the audience's heightened attention. Blue and green tints. Cooler tones accompany moments of introspection or sadness, reinforcing psychological depth. Bullseye: how symbolism enhances storytelling and themes. The rich symbolism in Five Nights at Freddy's does more than decorate the story. It deeply enhances its thematic resonance. Adds emotional layers. Symbolic elements turn the horror from merely external threats into a metaphor for internal struggle, making the story more relatable and emotionally compelling. Invites interpretation. Visual and auditory motifs encourage viewers to engage actively with the narrative, fostering analysis and discussion about meaning and theme. Supports character arcs. Symbols like mirrors and music boxes mirror the characters' psychological journeys, reinforcing their development and inner conflicts. Creates cohesive atmosphere. Recurrent motifs and color schemes unify the film's tone, maintaining immersion and emotional continuity. Memo summary. In sum, Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, employs symbolism and metaphor extensively to reflect themes of lost innocence, trauma, and psychological torment through animatronics and setting. Use darkness, mirrors, and music as motifs for fear, identity, and cyclical memory. Present the pizzeria as a haunted, decaying space symbolizing corporate neglect and mental imprisonment. Draw parallels between mechanical fragility and human vulnerability. Utilize color and sound to accentuate mood and thematic undercurrents. These layers of meaning enrich the film's storytelling, making it a complex psychological horror that resonates emotionally and intellectually with audiences long after the credits roll. Right-pointing magnifying glass extensive analysis of symbolism and metaphors in Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023. 1. Animatronics as multifaceted symbols. The animatronics are the film's most potent symbolic elements, carrying layers of meaning beyond their function as horror antagonists. corrupted innocence and nostalgia gone wrong. Initially, the animatronics represent childhood joy and wonder, emblems of a simpler, innocent time. However, the film portrays their transformation into menacing figures as a metaphor for how innocence can be corrupted by trauma, neglect, or exploitation. This transformation reflects a larger cultural anxiety about the loss of childhood innocence in a world increasingly dominated by technology, commercialization, and hidden dangers. Physical manifestation of trauma and guilt. The animatronics' relentless pursuit of Mike mirrors the inescapable nature of trauma and unresolved guilt. Their haunting presence serves as a constant reminder of the protagonist's dark past and inner turmoil. They symbolize memories and emotions that are mechanical in their repetition and inevitability, always winding up to confront the psyche. Duality of mechanism and sentience. The juxtaposition between their robotic, mechanical nature and the human-like malevolence they display raises questions about the blurred boundaries between man and machine, life and automaton. This tension symbolizes fears about dehumanization and loss of agency, as well as the uncanny, something familiar yet disturbingly alien. 2. The pizzeria as a living symbol. The Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location is more than just a setting. It's a character in itself and an extended metaphor. Corporate negligence and institutional decay. The pizzeria's dilapidated state symbolizes corporate irresponsibility and the consequences of prioritizing profit over people. Its eerily empty halls and malfunctioning animatronics critique how institutions can become haunted by their dark histories, failures, and unethical practices. Psychological maze and prison. The maze-like layout of the pizzeria symbolizes the labyrinthine nature of the mind and trauma. It becomes a physical representation of Mike's psychological entrapment. No matter how hard he tries to escape or make sense of it, he is caught within endless corridors of fear, memory, and denial. A modern Gothic space. The pizzeria echoes Gothic architecture's traditional role as a space of haunting and mystery, updated for a contemporary, technological age. Its fluorescent lighting flickers like a failing heartbeat, and its abandoned spaces evoke a decaying temple of lost innocence and forgotten sins. 3. Night and darkness as psychological symbols. Nighttime is the film's primary temporal setting, loaded with symbolic significance. Unconscious mind and repressed fears. The cover of darkness parallels the unconscious, where hidden fears and memories lurk. The night becomes the arena where Mike confronts both literal monsters and his inner demons, symbolizing a journey through repression toward painful truths. Isolation and vulnerability. Darkness isolates the characters, cutting them off from safety and connection, amplifying vulnerability. This represents emotional isolation, loneliness, and the fragility of the human psyche under pressure. Temporal pressure and countdown. The 5 nights impose a temporal structure that symbolizes endurance and the inevitability of confrontation. Time is both a literal constraint and a metaphor for the gradual unraveling of mental defenses. 4. Mirrors, reflections, and fragmentation. Mirrors appear frequently as powerful symbolic devices. Self-examination and identity crisis. Reflections often distort or fracture, symbolizing Mike's fractured sense of self and identity confusion. They visually represent internal conflict and self-questioning, key themes in the film's psychological exploration. Illusion versus reality. The blurred or distorted mirror images symbolize the thin line between reality and hallucination, sanity and madness. This motif reinforces the film's unreliable narrative structure and invites viewers to question the nature of what they see. 5. Music box and auditory motifs. The recurring mechanical music box tune is a signature auditory metaphor. Childhood nostalgia and trauma. The haunting melody simultaneously evokes innocence and decay, nostalgia tinged with loss and sorrow. The music box's repetitive, cyclical nature symbolizes the persistence of trauma and how memories loop endlessly in the mind. Ominous forewarning. The music acts as a chilling harbinger, growing louder or more discordant as danger approaches, tying innocence to menace. 6. Mechanical imagery and human vulnerability. The film continuously juxtaposes mechanical parts with human elements. Fragility beneath the surface. The animatronics' intricate gears and circuits symbolize the fragility beneath seemingly solid exteriors, paralleling human emotional vulnerability masked by tough facades. Loss of agency and dehumanization. The mechanical precision and programmed violence evoke fears about losing autonomy, becoming puppets to forces beyond control, whether psychological or societal. 7. Color symbolism. The film's color palette subtly reinforces mood and theme. Muted, industrial hues. Grays and browns evoke decay, abandonment, and a sterile corporate environment devoid of warmth, reflecting the oppressive atmosphere. Red is danger and emotional intensity. Strategic use of red signals violence, urgency, and emotional climax, heightening tension. Cool blues and greens. These colors punctuate moments of reflection or sadness, underscoring psychological complexity. 8. Recurring visual motifs and hidden cues. Clock faces and timepieces. Clocks emphasize the inevitability of time and the pressure of survival, underscoring themes of fate and endurance. Static screens and glitches. These visual disruptions symbolize fractured reality, memory distortion, and digital age paranoia. Childlike drawings and graffiti. Scattered images of children and playful scrolls contrast sharply with the dark atmosphere, amplifying the theme of innocence lost and the haunting presence of past victims. 9. How these elements enhance themes and storytelling. Deepens emotional resonance. Symbolism connects the horror to universal human experiences, trauma, guilt, loss, making the film emotionally engaging and psychologically rich. Invites active interpretation. The layered metaphors encourage viewers to look beyond surface scares, fostering engagement through theory crafting and discussion. Supports narrative ambiguity. The use of mirrors, music boxes, and fractured imagery sustains the film's dreamlike, unsettling tone, reinforcing its unreliable narrative and psychological horror approach. Integrates theme with style. Symbolism is woven seamlessly into visuals, sound, and plot, creating a cohesive artistic vision rather than feeling tacked on. End with left arrow above conclusion. Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, stands out by embedding profound symbolism and layered metaphors into its core horror framework. The animatronics symbolize corrupted innocence and internal trauma. The pizzeria functions as a psychological prison. Night and darkness explore subconscious fears. Mirrors fracture identity. Music boxes echo cyclical trauma. And mechanical imagery draws poignant parallels between humans and machines. Together, these elements elevate the film beyond typical jump-scare fare into a resonant psychological and thematic experience that lingers with audiences long after viewing. If you want, I can also help break down specific scenes rich in symbolism or provide a symbolism guide for the entire film. Would you like that? Franchise and historical context of Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023. 1. Placement within the franchise. Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, is the first major live-action adaptation of the hugely popular Five Nights at Freddy's, FNAF, video game series, which began in 2014. The franchise is renowned for its complex, layered lore, blending horror with mystery through a narrative that unfolds gradually across multiple game installments, books, and fan theories. 2. Contribution to the franchise's overarching narrative. Narrative expansion and adaptation. The film serves as a crucial extension of the FNAF universe, translating the interactive, fragmented storytelling of the games into a linear cinematic narrative. It retains key franchise elements, such as the haunted animatronics, the mysterious disappearances, and the eerie setting of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, while restructuring the lore for a broad audience. Filling gaps and adding depth. While the games rely on environmental storytelling, cryptic clues, and player deduction, the film provides more direct character development and exposition. It deepens the emotional stakes by focusing on Mike Schmidt's personal journey, trauma, and guilt, humanizing the story beyond its original gameplay mechanics. Respect for franchise mythology. The movie carefully incorporates iconic franchise elements like the animatronics backstory, the lore of missing children, and the enigmatic purple guy figure, connecting with longtime fans by acknowledging the layered mythology. At the same time, it simplifies some plot points for accessibility, balancing fan service with broader appeal. Establishing a cinematic continuity. By creating a definitive live-action storyline, the film lays groundwork for potential sequels and expanded universe storytelling, anchoring the franchise in mainstream media beyond games and novels. 3. Narrative consistency and innovation. Faithfulness versus creative license. The film remains largely faithful to the spirit and major beats of the games but exercises creative liberty in character arcs and plot details to suit cinematic storytelling. This approach allows for a more emotionally resonant narrative, although it may deviate from certain fan theories or game-specific lore. Exploring psychological horror more deeply. Unlike the game's jump-scare-driven mechanics, the movie emphasizes atmospheric and psychological horror, adding layers of symbolism and thematic complexity to the franchise's established mythos. 4. Context in horror franchise history. Position among video game adaptations. Five Nights at Freddy's joins a growing list of video game-to-film adaptations, a genre historically challenged by critical and fan reception. It distinguishes itself by capturing the psychological depth and unique atmosphere of its source material, avoiding pitfalls of shallow storytelling common in earlier adaptations. Contribution to modern horror trends. The film aligns with recent trends favoring atmospheric, character-driven horror, similar to It Follows or The Babadook, over purely visceral scares. This positions it as a notable example of how video game horror properties can evolve into sophisticated cinema. Revitalizing a nostalgia-driven franchise. The movie taps into broader cultural nostalgia for 90s arcade and animatronic culture, while contemporizing those elements with modern horror sensibilities. This dual appeal helps expand the franchise's cultural footprint. 5. Cultural and historical references embedded in the film. The 1980s and 1990s setting. The film grounds itself in the late 20th century, evoking the era's aesthetic through set design, costumes, and technology, which resonates with the franchise's original timeline. This historical context enhances immersion and authenticity, appealing to viewers' collective memory of that time. Reflection of corporate malpractice and childhood safety concerns. The film's portrayal of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza as a neglectful, dangerous corporate entity echoes real-world anxieties about corporate responsibility, workplace safety, and child protection scandals prevalent in the late 20th century. Commentary on technology and automation. The movie reflects broader historical apprehensions about rapid technological advances in entertainment and automation, highlighting how mechanization can alienate or endanger. 6. Franchise evolution and audience expectations. Balancing fan expectations and new audiences. The film negotiates the challenge of satisfying hardcore fans familiar with the franchise's intricate lore while remaining accessible and engaging for newcomers. It uses iconic imagery and plot elements as anchors for fans, while providing clear exposition and character focus for broader audiences. Setting up franchise longevity. The success of the film paves the way for sequels, spin-offs, and expanded storytelling across media, marking a new phase in the franchise's evolution from niche horror game to mainstream multimedia property. 7. Impact on franchise legacy. Elevating franchise prestige. The film's critical and commercial reception enhances the franchise's cultural status, legitimizing it as a serious horror narrative rather than a mere game adaptation. Encouraging lore exploration and fan engagement. By adapting complex storylines and presenting them cinematically, the film revitalizes interest in the franchise's lore, sparking renewed fan discussion, theorizing, and engagement. Potential redefinition of franchise themes. The movie's emphasis on psychological trauma, corporate critique, and identity may influence future franchise entries to adopt deeper, more nuanced storytelling. Summary. Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, serves as a crucial bridge between the franchise's rich, fragmented video game lore and the demands of cinematic storytelling. It contributes meaningfully to the overarching narrative by humanizing characters, clarifying complex mythology, and expanding thematic depth. Situated within the broader history of horror and video game adaptations, the film marks a significant milestone in the evolution of the FNAF franchise, honoring its roots while charting new directions for its future. Through its authentic period setting and cultural reflections, the film also grounds the supernatural horror in relatable historical anxieties, ensuring its place both as a franchise cornerstone and a standalone horror experience. If you want, I can also provide detailed comparisons with prior FNAF games or related horror franchises to further contextualize the film's significance. Would you like that? Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023 franchise and historical context, in-depth analysis. 1. Position within the franchise. Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, is the first live-action film adaptation of Scott Cawthon's immensely popular horror game series that started in 2014. The franchise quickly became a cultural phenomenon, known for its innovative storytelling through gameplay mechanics. Players survive nightly shifts in a haunted pizzeria while piecing together cryptic lore. Expansive, mysterious universe, spread across multiple games, novels, and fan theories, with interconnected characters, events, and hidden narratives. Iconic horror elements, animatronics, jump scares, and eerie atmosphere. The film acts as a gateway that translates the fragmented, puzzle-like storytelling of the games into a cohesive narrative fit for cinematic experience, aiming to honor the source material's essence while making it accessible. 2. Narrative contribution to franchise mythology. The FNAF franchise's mythology is complex, including story arcs about missing children tragedies linked to animatronics, corporate corruption and cover-ups at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the mysterious purple guy and his dark deeds, the haunted nature of the animatronics and their supernatural elements. The film synthesizes these elements by focusing on Mike Schmidt, a new protagonist whose personal history intertwines with the animatronics' haunting. This provides a more personal, emotionally grounded viewpoint. The game's present fragmented lore but little emotional depth for player characters. The film humanizes the narrative by emphasizing trauma, guilt, and redemption. Streamlined lore delivery. Instead of complex timelines and cryptic hints, the film lays out key plot points and backstories in a clear narrative arc, making the mythology comprehensible to wider audiences. Retention of key franchise motifs. The film preserves important franchise themes, such as the corrupted innocence symbolized by the animatronics and the pervasive presence of unresolved tragedy. By doing this, the film both respects longtime fans and invites newcomers into the universe. 3. Balancing fan service and accessibility. One of the film's major challenges is balancing fidelity to the lore with mainstream storytelling demands. Incorporation of iconic characters and elements. Animatronics like Freddy, Bonnie, and Chiku are featured prominently, alongside Easter eggs and references to game lore, satisfying dedicated fans. Simplification and reinterpretation. Some plotlines and characters are adapted or altered for clarity or dramatic impact, which may diverge from strict fan expectations but serve the narrative pacing and emotional resonance. Avoidance of heavy exposition dumps. The film uses atmospheric clues, flashbacks, and visual storytelling rather than heavy dialogue to convey backstory, maintaining suspense and mystery. This balance ensures the film is both a celebration and a reimagining of the franchise. 4. Franchise legacy and cultural impact. The Five Nights at Freddy's games had a massive cultural impact before the film, inspiring extensive fan art, fan fiction, and theories, spin-off games and merchandise, a devoted fan community and internet memes. The film, as the first major live-action adaptation, represents a turning point, legitimizes the franchise in mainstream cinema, moves it beyond cult gaming circles into broader popular culture. Potential to launch a cinematic universe, sets the stage for sequels, prequels, and spin-offs, expanding the narrative scope and deepening the mythology. Increased fan engagement. The film's release sparked renewed interest in the games and lore, revitalizing fan communities. 5. Comparison with video game film adaptations. Video game adaptations historically face critical skepticism due to poor storytelling and lack of faithfulness. Five Nights at Freddy's stands out because it embraces the source material's tone and themes rather than just its superficial elements. It avoids over-reliance on action or spectacle in favor of psychological horror and atmosphere. It respects the mystery and suspense that define the games. This positions it alongside recent successful adaptations like Detective Pikachu, 2019, and Sonic the Hedgehog, 2020, but with a distinct horror sensibility. 6. Historical and cultural context. Setting in the late 1980s and 1990s, the film's era reflects the franchise's original timeline and evokes nostalgia for arcade culture and family entertainment centers popular at the time. Reflection of social anxieties. Corporate neglect and cover-ups mirror real-world scandals related to business ethics and child safety. The rise of automation and robotics in entertainment captures societal fears about technology replacing human connection and the consequences of mechanization. Psychological and cultural themes. The film touches on trauma, loss, and identity in ways that resonate with contemporary audiences, making it relevant beyond its horror roots. 7. Influence on franchise development. The film's success or failure could shape the tone and direction of future franchise installments, both cinematic and interactive. Encourage deeper narrative complexity in sequels, drawing from the emotional and psychological themes introduced. Inspire cross-media storytelling, such as TV series, graphic novels, or digital experiences that blend film and gaming. 8. Production context and reception. Development challenges. Adapting a non-linear, lore-heavy video game into a cohesive film required careful writing, direction, and casting choices to balance horror with character-driven storytelling. Fan reactions. The film sparked discussion about its faithfulness, casting, and interpretation of key franchise elements. Box office and critical impact. The film's reception influences future investment in horror adaptations and the viability of niche gaming properties in Hollywood. Summary. Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, serves as a landmark adaptation that thoughtfully bridges the gap between the franchise's intricate, interactive lore and cinematic storytelling. It respects the original game's atmosphere and mythology while creating a character-driven narrative accessible to newcomers. Situated in a nostalgic yet socially resonant historical context, the film expands the franchise's cultural footprint and sets a foundation for future media explorations. Its balance of fan service, psychological horror, and thematic depth positions it as a significant entry not just in the FNAF series, but in the broader history of video game film adaptations. Would you like me to go further and analyze how this film compares scene by scene with key moments in the games or delve into specific production details? Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, Budget and Box Office Analysis. 1. Film Budget Overview. Five Nights at Freddy's, 2023, was produced with a moderate to mid-range budget for a horror film of its scale. Reports suggest the production budget was approximately $60 to $70 million, which reflects several key factors. High-quality visual effects and animatronics. The film's hallmark animatronic characters required advanced CGI integration blended with practical effects, demanding significant investment in visual effects studios and physical props. Period setting and production design, recreating the late 1980s, early 1990s era with authentic set design, costumes, and props added to production costs, ensuring immersive world building. Experienced cast and crew. The film employed recognized actors, a skilled director with horror expertise, and a seasoned technical team, all contributing to elevated production expenses. Marketing and distribution budget. Though not included in production costs, marketing spend was substantial, reflecting the studio's intent to launch the film as a major franchise starter. 2. Production quality relative to budget. Despite not being a blockbuster-scale production, which often exceed $100 million, the film's production quality far exceeded typical expectations for its budget range. Visual effects. The animatronics and horror sequences demonstrate seamless integration of CGI and practical effects, delivering believable and terrifying creatures that maintain franchise authenticity. Cinematography and art direction. The atmospheric lighting, period-accurate locations, and detailed set dressing showcase high production values, with a polished, cinematic aesthetic rarely seen in horror films of comparable budget. Sound design and score. A meticulously crafted soundscape enhances tension and mood, reflecting significant allocation of resources toward audio production. In summary, the budget was effectively utilized to produce a visually and technically impressive film that punches above its financial weight class in production value. 3. Box office performance. Upon release, Five Nights at Freddy's achieved a strong box office showing, considered a financial success relative to expectations and genre